million years ago, dinosaurs went extinct, ending their roughly 165 million year existence. The dinosaurs first arrived on Earth on January 1st and were extinct in the third week of September if all of Earth's history from the time of dinosaurs to the present could be condensed into 365 days or one calendar year. The Earth would have been originated roughly 18.5 years earlier using the same time frame. The same scale indicates that Homo sapiens have only been present on Earth since December 31st, that's New Year's Eve. The dinosaurs were unquestionably successful in the history of life on Earth because of their prolonged time of dominance. What, though, actually transpired during the age of the dinosaurs? In this video, we'll look into all the aspects of the age of dinosaurs. But before moving further, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon for more amazing content like this. Without further ado, let's get started. Before understanding deeply about the gigantic animals, we have to dive into the ages of the dinosaurs. Specifically, there were three periods when they used to live. The first one is the Triassic, that's 252 to 201 million years ago. All of Earth's continents were combined into one massive supercontinent known as Pangaea at the beginning of the Triassic period. The temperature was hot and dry in its core, distant from any coasts, which may have been too severe for most life. The stretching apart of Pangaea during the following tens of millions of years was caused by the movement of tectonic plates. Growing cracks or fissures in the Earth's crust began to spew lava. These eruptions released carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas that warms the environment. Additionally, CO2 brought some erratic climate changes. Triassic history is Jessica Whiteside's area of study. She works as a geochemist at Southampton University in England. The first 20 million years of this time were violently changeable, according to her. She writes that the temperatures, which fluctuated between 50 and 60 degrees Celsius, were very hot to insanely scorching. Do you understand how we differ from them? Evolution. Extreme temperatures were accompanied by some particularly wet spells. They each had an impact on evolution. For instance, some creatures in particular places had an advantage during a brief but very rainy period between 234 and 232 million years ago. Ferns and conifers, trees that produce cones and have leaves that resemble needles, were among the plants that flourished during the Triassic period. The animal kingdom came to be dominated by reptiles. They contained crocodiles of all sizes, tortoises, lizards, and of course dinosaurs. According to Whiteside, their increase appears to be connected to fissure eruptions of inconceivable scale. But how did this period end? She points out that the emergence of early dinosaurs predates this period of intense volcanic activity. They also are divided into three main groups: plant-eating sauropods, meat-eating theropods, and plant-eating ornithischians with beaks. Yet none were enormous. According to Broussat, these early dinosaurs were small and humble, only around the size of small dogs. You could assume that since all the continents are connected, dinosaurs and other animals might readily spread from one area to another. But according to Whiteside, that did not happen. She explains that the equatorial regions alternated from being dreadfully hot and dry and being violently rainy with devastating floods. Raging wildfires destroyed all vegetation in the area. Only dinosaurs that consumed meat and were not dependent on plants could survive in tropical regions throughout the Triassic, claims Whiteside. This period came to an end with a significant mass extinction, much like the one before it. It's possible that by now half of all species have vanished. It is unclear what led to this extinction event and how long it lasted. Yet again, significant ecological gaps remained to be filled. Moving on to the next period, this one is interesting. Between 201 and 145 million years ago was the Jurassic period. Dinosaurs had a number of essential characteristics that allowed them to survive beyond the end Triassic extinction, according to Whiteside. One of the most noticeable is the capacity for erect posture. She adds that their very efficient lungs that basically ran through their entire bodies were less noticeable. These characteristics ultimately enabled many dinosaurs to grow into enormous creatures during the Jurassic period. Pangaea started to break up significantly in the meanwhile. One fissure developed into the developing Atlantic Ocean. The continents of South America, Africa, North America, and India separated as they grew away. Do you want to know some interesting stuff about the Jurassic period? Pliosaurs scoured the oceans throughout the Jurassic period. The length of these animals was roughly 15 meters. On land, beetles, flies, and dragonflies were particularly prevalent. Most mammals about the size of squirrels were overshadowed by the burgeoning population of enormous reptiles. As they had been throughout the Mesozoic, cycads, which resemble palm trees and had cone-shaped seed pods, were common. Conifers were also absolutely crazy. In reality, plant-eating dinosaurs' long necks likely developed so they could reach the tall conifers as top leaves. Reptiles' enlarged digestive systems allowed them to consume these hardy plants thanks to changes in their bone structure. In the late Jurassic, the diversity, quantity, and size of the plant-eating sauropod dinosaurs peaked. Conifers' relative abundance had already started to drop by the end of this time. A decrease in the proportion of long-necked, plant-eating dinosaurs coincided with that fall. Now we move to a period where probably the birth of the motherland, the continents and islands were already started. The Cretaceous period was 145 to 66 million years ago. Pangaea had completely fragmented into distinct continents and islands by the beginning of the Cretaceous period. The Atlantic had grown to the size of the ocean. What is today a large portion of the Midwestern United States and Canada was submerged by a second shallow ocean known as the Western Interior Seaway. Ocean currents started flowing between continents and toward the poles as a result of the vast seas that presently separate land masses. The entire Earth had a comparatively moderate climate thanks to this and times when CO2 levels were high. With trees thriving close to both the North and South poles, even the poles were warm. The appearance of flowering plants was another event in the Cretaceous. Numerous new insect species, including ants, grasshoppers, and butterflies, were created as a result of their blooms. Apart from the extinction of dinosaurs, there was one more thing that came very quickly. Do you have any thoughts regarding this? It was a volcanic eruption. Life wasn't perfect though. For instance, the oceanic anoxic event 1A, which occurred about 120 million years ago, was the first of multiple occasions during the Cretaceous when the oceans lost a significant amount of oxygen. Such conditions, which would have caused significant changes in ocean ecosystems, were probably brought about by large volcanic eruptions. According to Broussard, the world's land masses were positioned similar to today's map, with several separate continents and various dinosaurs living on each, as the Cretaceous period came to an end. For instance, in 2005, paleontologists in Germany found a smaller dinosaur than the original. They now believe this miniature dinosaur originated on an island. It's unlikely that its little range would have had enough food and space to feed a mega animal. Additionally, dinosaurs evolved feathers to protect themselves from the cold in some very icy areas. Now, one thing that you must be wondering is whether did dinosaurs have feathers? Yes, some dinosaurs displayed feathers, much as their bird ancestors do today. Feathers don't fossilize well, but some amazing fossils do, particularly those from China's Liaoning region that was buried during the volcanic eruption and still include feathers. Here are a few illustrations: Jianyan Hualong Tengi, Yutiranus huali, and Zhenyuanlong Suni. It is unknown why dinosaurs first developed feathers, although they may have served as insulation to keep the animals and their developing eggs warm, as means for a display to communicate with other dinosaurs, such as during courtship, and a means of gliding or powered flight. It was once believed that only theropods and their offsprings possessed feathers. However, recent discoveries of downy feathers on a plant-eating ornithischian dinosaur raise questions about the widely held belief. With the feathers around the corner, have you ever thought that dinosaurs fly? Some dinosaurs had the ability to fly, including Archaeopteryx, the earliest bird ever identified, which lived in the late Jurassic period approximately 150 million years ago and was found in Germany. But unlike the majority of birds today, prehistoric dinosaurs probably only flew locally. According to research, prehistoric birds and dinosaurs that resembled birds needed strong leg muscles, large wings, and small body size for takeoff and flying, Habib previously told Live Science. According to his findings, the dinosaurs Microraptor and Rehanavis, as well as the 5 avian genera Archaeopteryx, Sapiornis, Jeholornis, and Confuciusornis might have taken off without running from the ground to begin flight. According to a 2015 study published in the journal Nature, the bat-like dinosaur Iki, which lived in China during the Jurassic period, possessed wings. However, it was probably a lousy glider and did not have powered flight. Now the million-dollar question arises, why did dinosaurs go extinct? How well the dinosaurs were doing before the asteroid struck Earth is open for discussion. Several studies indicate that, particularly among herbivorous dinosaurs, diversity was dropping and dinosaur extinctions were increasing throughout the late Cretaceous. However, this research relies on models and inadequate fossil evidence that could not be accurate. According to Broussard, even if dinosaur diversity was declining, it's feasible that they would have recovered if the asteroid hadn't hit. Dinosaurs inhabited all 7 continents, including Antarctica, and they occupied a variety of ecological roles, from plant-eating to apex carnivores. Over the course of their 150+ million years of evolutionary history, dinosaur diversity had experienced many spikes and dips, he said. It's probable that they would still be thriving today as more than birds if the catastrophic extinction hadn't occurred. Do you know a collision also took place with the dinosaurs? Long-term suffering came following the asteroid strike, which caused chaos. Massive devastation was wreaked by the collision, which also produced earthquakes, a shockwave, a heat pulse, wildfires, tsunamis, including one that was immediately 1 mile high, volcanic eruptions, and toxic acid rain. The asteroid's dust and debris hung in the air. For hours after the impact, according to Broussard, this rain of hot dust boosted global temperatures and roasted alive animals that were too huge to seek refuge. Small animals that could find refuge below the surface of the water, in caverns, or possibly in enormous tree trunks, may have been able to withstand this initial heat assault. According to Broussard, the dust and other particles that remained in the atmosphere prevented the sun from shining for several years afterwards, generating a nuclear winter that chilled the earth and resulted in the demise of innumerable plants and animals. How about the survivors of the giant monsters? Smaller omnivorous terrestrial animals such as mammals, lizards, turtles or birds may have managed to survive as scavengers by consuming decaying plant material, fungi, roots, and dinosaur carcasses, according to a previous statement by Broussard. Smaller animals with lower metabolisms were best able to wait outside the catastrophe. After the nuclear winter ended, the asteroid also crushed carbon-rich rocks, releasing carbon into the atmosphere and causing global warming for a few thousand years, according to Broussard. In the past, researchers have questioned whether the Deccan Traps volcanic eruptions in what is now India contributed to the mass extinction. But according to Broussard, subsequent research shows that the Deccan probably had relatively little impact. The extinction was brought on by the asteroid, which was most likely an innocent bystander. But can dinosaurs be really brought back? In the well-known film series Jurassic Park, researchers discovered dinosaur DNA preserved in an old mosquito trapped in amber and then patch in the DNA gaps with frog DNA. Although the plot is interesting, the science is not all that reliable. Frogs are not at all closely linked to dinosaurs. They are not archosaurs, and a 2017 study published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences even indicated that frog evolution took off after the asteroid impact. For example, amber does not keep DNA well. It's now difficult to bring back extinct dinosaurs for a variety of reasons. Although researchers have discovered dinosaur blood vessels and proteins, they have not yet successfully identified dinosaur DNA. The moment an organism dies, its DNA starts to degrade, but under the correct conditions, some of it can be retained. However, a mammoth that is about 1 million years old has had its DNA sequenced, and dinosaurs died about 66 million years ago. A so-called dino chicken, which would have a longer tail, teeth, limbs, and fingers, is one of the creatures that some scientists are researching as a way to reverse engineer birds into dinosaurs. Even dinosaur-like snouts were implanted into some chicken embryos. The Chickenosaurus, though, would resemble a dinosaur more than a prehistoric dinosaur. Do you know how the world's most lethal mass extinction aided the emergence of dinosaurs? The most well-known aspect of dinosaurs, the terrible lizards who ruled the world for 150 million years, is perhaps how they perished. The 66 million-year-old asteroid strike that wiped out the majority of their kind has become an ongoing source of intrigue. But it turns out that the worst catastrophe in the record of life on Earth is what gave dinosaurs their initial rise to fame. Tons of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases were released into the sky due to severe volcanic activity around 252 million years ago, and the heat also burned coal beds, which released further ash and particulates into the atmosphere. The catastrophe obscured the sun, made the oceans more acidic, accelerated global warming, and even decreased oxygen levels in the atmosphere and water. Organisms died every day for almost 1 million years as a result of the catastrophe known as the Permian-Triassic mass extinction, which left almost no ecosystem unaffected. By the time the tragedy was through, the planet had been irrevocably altered and the stage had been set for the advent of the age of reptiles. Emerging evidence has started to show how the ancestors of dinosaurs and other reptiles surpassed proto-mammals to complete a significant ecological takeover. This evidence is based on a variety of new fossil discoveries and more sophisticated analytical techniques. ancient relatives of mammals thrived on land prior to the Permian-Triassic extinction. Synapsids, proto-mammals that fit practically every ecological niche from apex predators to enormous herbivores to timid insect eaters, were common in prehistoric settings. Many synapsids were among the 70% of known land species that perished during the extinction event. According to Jennifer Botha of the National Museum Bloemfontein in South Africa, scientists don't really know why the synapsids suffered such a knock after the end Permian mass extinction. Paleontologists have just recently begun to recognize small organisms that were previously neglected, which were frequently discovered in previously disregarded rocks. These hardy creatures had been forced to evolve a number of special traits in order to survive before the global extinction. These similar characteristics would aid them in taking over the world after the apocalypse. So what characterizes a dinosaur as a dinosaur? A straightforward change in the posture of their legs was one of the most important evolutionary traits that assisted early dinosaurs in the conquest of the land. Similar reptiles had their bodies hanging between their side-facing legs, much like a crocodile. Dinosaurs' legs could be pulled under their bodies to serve as towers rather than bridge supports, thanks to the small shift in anatomy. Dinosaurs gained a significant edge thanks to this minor modification that made moving around easier and allowing them to focus more energy on surviving and procreating. Dinosaurs can also be distinguished from other groups of animals by a variety of less evident traits in addition to their significant anatomical relationship. These include a hole in their hip socket, a distinctively hinged ankle, at least 3 sacral vertebrae which are located close to the hip, a hole in the skull between their eye socket and nostrils, and 2 more holes behind each eye socket. With that being said, dinosaurs are part of history now. Their fossils can be found now, but if they would be back or not is part of the mystery. Do you think that they can be brought back? What are your views about dinosaurs? Do you think that humans and dinosaurs could live together way before? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like our work, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.